Hello and welcome to Rise and Shine for Jesus. Have you ever wondered what happened to Esther after she went and spoke to the king and saved the Jews? What happened to her after that? I really wondered this question myself, and it encouraged me to do some further research on Esther. What happened to her? Did she ever have any children? I was really curious. So I did a study on her, and I was blown away, but also encouraged as to what I found out more about her. And I wanted to share it with you because it was so powerful what I learned about her testimony, and her further reach in saving Israel is amazing. So this is what I learned. Historically, if you research in the time frames, now the Bible doesn't specifically say that Esther and her husband had children. But historically, and according to the timeline of the kings, what would have happened at the time that Esther and her husband had a child, okay, would have been Artaxerxes, according to this timeline, okay, and historically is proven. So that her son would have been Artaxerxes. And he was the king during Nehemiah, okay, the time of Nehemiah, the rebuilding of Jerusalem. And the interesting thing is well, this would have been that Artaxerxes was half Jew, okay? So he would have been pretty partial to Jews, obviously. He would have been taught by his mother the importance of Israel. He would have heard the story of his mother saving Israel and the Jews. And I find it quite amazing, okay? So we put all of this together, that during Nehemiah, okay, his time frame of wanting to rebuild Jerusalem, that he was the king's cupbearer. Now, why would the king, Artaxerxes, have a Jew for his cupbearer? Well, if you think about it, King Artaxerxes would have been half Jew, so he would have been not only sympathetic, but probably more trusting of the Jews during his reign. So who better to trust to taste your drink to see if it was poisonous than a Jew? He trusted them because he knew that it was against their commandments to lie. So his cupbearer was a Jew. He had a soft spot for the Jews. And why else would a king care about the countenance of his cupbearer if he didn't already know that he was a Jew and was tender towards the Jews, sympathetic towards them? Here we see King Artaxerxes in the book of Nehemiah, if you study it, that he was sympathetic towards this cupbearer, this Jewish cupbearer. And he said, "Why are you so sad, Nehemiah? Why? Why is your countenance down?" It was against the law to be sad. And so maybe Nehemiah also knew that King Artaxerxes was half Jewish. And he knew that if he was just maybe not as happy as usual, the king would notice. And he would have an opportunity to share this with him, who you can't really say for sure. But however, King Artaxerxes was sympathetic towards this Jewish cupbearer's countenance. And it gave Nehemiah the opportunity to tell King Artaxerxes why he was concerned. And that was because the wall was destroyed around Jerusalem. And King Artaxerxes was determined to allow Nehemiah to go back and rebuild the wall, give him whatever he needed to go back and do this. Why? Because his mom put in him a burden for the Jewish people, for the land of Israel. What an amazing story. So Queen Esther is responsible yet again for saving Israel and the Jewish people. You know, not directly, but her influence was responsible again for helping to save the Jewish people. That's so amazing to me. And you know, you don't sometimes think about when our mundane chores are going on and having to just change another diaper and sing the same songs to our kids. And sometimes we think more, you know, belittled of our role as mothers. But we can see here how great the influence of a mother truly is. And because King Artaxerxes was half Jewish, his mom put in him, Queen Esther, instilled in him a love for the Jews that would later on change the course of history for the Jewish people yet again. So that is so important. Your role as a mother is so important. You don't know how your influence is going to affect history. Okay, Queen Esther may have thought, well, yes, I was brought to the kingdom for such a time as this, and then that was the end of my story, right? Well, not only was her role in that time amazingly important in saving the Jews, but it also affected history as well, later on to save the Jews yet again. So don't belittle your role as a mother. Don't belittle your influence as a mother, because you don't know how impactful your role is going to be to influence history for the Lord even later on. So don't take it lightly. Take every day is an opportunity to help your children grow in grace and in the knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ. And it's very important. And I hope that that story of Queen Esther and her influence on her son Artaxerxes is an encouragement to you to just keep instilling the right things in our children, the right burdens. Because if she didn't care about the Jews, you know, Artaxerxes probably wouldn't care about the Jews, but she did, and he did. So you can see all throughout the Bible the influences of the mother, for good or bad, on the children. And take your job seriously. Pray over it. Plead the blood over it, because it is important. It is so important. And you can see, not only in the Bible, but all throughout history and just in everyday life, the effect, the influence, or the lack of influence of a mother in a child's life. It's so important. There's so much in the Bible about mothers. I hope that you're studying about being a good mother and learning about being a good mother. And I pray that you will join me in this effort to really, really take our roles seriously as a mom, and not to think of it as something that is demeaning or not important, because it's so important. So thank you so much for being part of this story with me today. And I hope that Queen Esther's just her continued influence is an encouragement to you and an inspiration as it was to me. So God bless you, and I look forward to seeing you next time.